Rubber baby. Woo! Buggy bumpers. Ooh, 1, 2. Wow. 1, 2. Wow. Rubber baby, buggy bumpers. Welcome everybody. I'm very happy to have you guys here with me. To my wife, Sam, I love you so much. So much. Thank you for putting up with as much as you do for me, and I know that you do a lot. To my kids, Ryder Cruz and Willow Sage, you guys are my world. You guys and your mom are a huge chunk of why I'm doing what I'm doing. And remember, every single day, we're getting stronger and smarter. So with that, today, I'm going to tell you about my mother's battle with cancer, what it was like for me to watch her die, and how I went from not believing in shit to absolutely knowing that God is real, all in a matter of seconds. Now, a little disclaimer. I say the word God. My concept of God is very fluid. I'm not talking about anything that you have read in a book, whatever type of belief system you belong to. I'm talking about firsthand experience. I'm talking about connecting to the source and feeling it with every ounce of your being, and knowing that you are in the midst. I think that any belief system that's structured and organized has the element of the human ego, of human control. Whatever you call God is fine with me, whether it's Jesus, Buddha, the universe, Mother Nature. I'm talking about the source, the energy source that we are all sourced from. First-hand experience. I didn't believe in shit. A powerful experience made me think different and made me know different. Let's get to it. My mom had 3 back surgeries. She had the most, at least at the time, she had the most extensive back surgery that you can have. She had what was called a fusion, and basically they put metal cages inside of her back that lined her spine. They cut the bone off of her hip, grounded it up, and packed the cages with it. For about a year, she had been feeling this pain on her side. She ignored it. She thought that it was going to be the doctors telling her that she needed a 4th surgery. She just didn't even go there. She wasn't going to get another surgery. When she finally actually did go in, it wasn't a 4th surgery that she needed. Her whole torso was riddled with tumors, and she had stage 4 lung cancer. Like I said, it was already stage 4. Not a whole lot you can do. It progressed rather quickly. She started the chemo and radiation, of course, which just sped things up. Kills your body. A few months later, she reverted back to a little girl, and one night she tried to use the restroom, but it was the stove in the kitchen. So we took her up there to the hospital, and now her brain was completely riddled with tumors as well. So we spent the next couple months, she was in the hospital, and she was in and out of knowing who we were, not knowing who we were, being herself, and reverting back to a little girl, referring to my grandpa, as daddy, and even the tone of her voice and everything completely changed. Sometimes she didn't know who me and my brother were. Sometimes she did. Sometimes she didn't really know who anybody around her was. It was heartbreaking, to say the least. The very least. When the time finally came, we put her on hospice and we brought her home. You see, she was supposed to die probably like a month prior, but she didn't. She kept on holding on. She got worse and worse. We brought her home on hospice, and she was in so much pain that they had her hooked up to a morphine pump, okay? And they basically kept her in a medical-induced coma. It was hitting her every 10 minutes with a triple dose of morphine just to keep her in this medical-induced coma, just to keep her comfortable. She should have died weeks ago at this point. At least weeks ago. She kept on holding on. Everybody kept on telling me that I needed to be the one to tell her that it was okay to go. Because previous to my cousin Jason committing suicide, he was her rock, and now I had stepped into that position, and even though we fought a lot previous to her having cancer, and it was a very toxic relationship just because of the drugs and everything, we were always very close, and you know, I was always one of the ones that she leaned on. So everybody was telling me that I needed to be the one to tell her that it was okay to go. And you know what I would say? Fuck that. There's no way that you want me to tell her that it's okay just to lay down and die? I wasn't gonna do it. And you know what? At times before she was in hospice, when she was still with us, she would cry to me sometimes because she was scared. She would cry to me and tell me that she was just so tired. And I would look at her, trying to use tough love, but I was very calloused at the time as well. And I would look her square in the eye and I would go, well, why don't you just fucking lay down and die then, Mom? Is that what you want me to tell you? Because I ain't gonna do it. That was my way of trying to toughen her up. A little harsh, maybe. The situation and the life, the situation was harsh. It's about 2:30 in the morning, April 1st, April Fool's Day. Her hospital bed is in the living room of my grandpa's house. It's me and my brother and my aunt, and we're basically just waiting. She hadn't even opened her eyes in like 2 weeks. We had to turn her over so that she, we would try to stop the bed sores, giving her sponge baths and things like that. That was all my aunt. And there's been a tumultuous relationship between me and her over the years, but I do love her, and for that time I will always be thankful. So like I said, she hadn't even opened her eyes in like 2 weeks. She should have been dead. 2:30 in the morning, 2:36 to be exact. Her body starts going into convulsions. Of course, all of us are still awake. My aunt, she yells at me and my brother and says that, I think it's time. So we go and we stand over the bed. I'm at her left side, my brother's across the way, and my aunt's right here or right there. Doesn't matter, it's irrelevant. But I know that I'm right here to her left. And I watch my mom start going into convulsions, and I think that this is going to be it. For anybody that's seen Pulp Fiction, you know the scene when Uma Thurman gets the shot of adrenaline straight to the heart because she's dying of a heroin overdose she thought was cocaine. Yeah, if you haven't seen that movie, check it out, gnarly. But the adrenaline goes into her heart, and she instantly comes out of it. Ugh. It was exactly like that. My mom's eyes just went boom! She took a big gasping breath, and right then and there, instantly, within a millisecond, there was a channel with me and her. And I knew, and my mind, I didn't even have to think about it. I didn't even have to think about it. My mind was completely changed, and I knew for a fact that she could hear me. I knew that she could understand me. Defies everything that the doctors have been telling us, okay? I got down at her eye level. I looked at her, and I said, "You can understand me, can't you?" And she's so weak, and she just looks at me with these big old eyes, pupils just completely dilated, and she shakes her head yes. And right then and there, like I said, I didn't even have to think about it, but everything, my callous brain, I'm so stubborn. And my stubbornness about being the one to tell her it was okay to go, I absolutely knew that this was my time. And my mind was completely changed for me without me even trying. And I got down next to her and I told her, and I said, "Listen, Mom, I know that you're tired. I know that you're in pain. I want you to know that it's okay to let go. It's okay. I'm going to make sure that I'm okay. I'm going to make sure that Gage is okay, and I'm going to make sure that Papa's okay." And she looks at me and she takes one big breath, and she doesn't even have the strength to actually vocalize it, but she just lets herself exhale, and on the exhale she goes, "I know." And of course right there I completely fucking lost it. I broke down hysterically, and I looked at her as I'm crying, and I just told her how much I loved her. And she looks at me and she takes one more big breath. On the exhale she says, "Love you too." And then immediately after that, her eyes rolled back into her head, and then she started going into convulsions again. And then we were standing there. It went on for probably, 10 seconds maybe. And then she stabilized. This is where it gets weird. She stabilized, and we're standing over her. Of course, there's adrenaline and endorphins and everything that's running through all of our bodies, but we're standing over her. And I didn't really notice exactly. I just knew that I felt something there, and it was different. And out of nowhere, the TV was playing in the background, okay? Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny happened to be on. And for anybody that has seen that movie, Jack Black and Kyle Gass, their band, Tenacious D, it's a real funny musical slapdick type comedy. Okay? It's not a serious movie at all. There's about a minute and a half to 2 minute section of the whole entire movie that happens to be somewhat serious. And it's when Jack Black and Kyle Gass, they decide that they're not friends anymore. Something happens, and Jack Black takes off walking. And while he's walking down the road by himself, this song comes on. And then this one tiny piece of music in the whole movie happened to be playing right at this exact time. We're standing over my mom after this experience just happened that defied science, okay? I'm trying to make sense of it, and then out of the corner of the room, and forgive my singing voice, but I hear this. Dude, I totally miss you. I really fucking miss you. I'm all alone all the time, all the time. Dude, I totally miss you. The things we did together. Where have you gone? I totally miss the honesty in special times, and honestly, I totally miss the fucked up things you do. Dude, I totally miss you. I totally miss you. Dude, I totally miss you all the time. So, as I hear that, that's the catalyst. And it brings my awareness to the present moment. And then all of a sudden, I could just feel, I got goosebumps. I can feel the entire room, and the air is so thick. If anybody has ever hyperventilated and breathed through a paper bag, the entire room felt hot and thick like that. It felt like I could take my hand and just wave all the way through the thickness of the air. And there was a presence in that room with us. An absolute presence that was beyond anything human. It was beyond us, but it was there, and it merged with us. Now, whether you want to say that that was God, whether you want to say that was an angel, whether you want to say that that was absolutely nothing, that's okay. Because unless you've experienced something of the sort, it would be like me trying to explain the taste of sugar to somebody that's never had anything but water. You just can't do it. But I absolutely 125% know that I went from not believing in anything to knowing firsthand experience that there is more. I fully connected to the source, or the source connected to me. We sat there and experienced it for a few minutes, not too long. I fell asleep on the small little love seat, and I woke up 6 in the morning, 6:30ish, don't remember exactly what the time that was, but my aunt was standing over my mom, and my mom, she was laying here with her head this way. Eyes were closed. She had just passed, and she had one single solitary tear that hadn't quite made it over the bridge of her nose to fall. She fought until the very end. It was absolutely dreadful, absolutely beautiful at the same time. If anybody is ever in the position to where one of their loved ones is knocking on death's door, and you are close enough to where you should be there, don't shy away from it. Everybody wants to be there when people are born. It's important that we be there when people go too. And you never know what type of experience you might encounter. I used to be able to never tell that story, of course, without crying, but I've told it quite a few times to people because it was very powerful. And of course, there's going to be haters, trolls, or people that, just don't believe or whatever. That's fine. That's totally fine. I'm not telling the story to try to persuade anybody of anything, whether you believe or whatnot. I can only tell you my experience, and that I do believe, that I know that God is real. I don't even really like the word God because it has such a stereotype from religious doctrine. We come from a source. we come from the source and we can connect to it. I hope everybody enjoyed it. I'm sure there's going to be some comments. I welcome them all. Haters, lovers, I'm still doing it. Be excellent to each other.